What's going on, everybody? C4 here today, continuing with my 7-round mock draft for every team in the NFL. Today, we'll be taking a look at the New York Football Jets and doing a full free agency grade / 7-round mock draft for the upcoming 2017 NFL draft. So, guys, I am doing every single team. It's the most ambitious video I've ever done on YouTube. So please, if you're a diehard of every team, you may not necessarily agree. I'm trying my best. I'm an Eagles fan at heart, but I think I know college football enough to try to assess and address all of the 32 teams' needs. But if I have, something different than you would as a diehard, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below and give me some opinions if you disagree with what I say, because I like to be as informed on every single fan base and every single team as humanly possible. So today, we are doing the New York Jets, who last year were 5-11, ranked 26th offensively and 11th defensively. Their MVP, in my opinion, was Leonard Williams. What a pick he was a couple years ago. Really kind of slipped a little bit. Best player available in full fucking motion there when they got Leonard Williams when he fell. I think it was like 6 or 8. Some people had him as the number 1 prospect in the draft class, and he was a beast last year. Kind of down years from Muhammad Wilkerson and Sheldon Richardson, but at least you have Leonard Williams. He's a monster, and hopefully everyone on that defensive line can bounce back and have a successful 2017-18 season. So jumping in, before free agency, the needs I had for the New York Jets were quarterback, defensive back, tight end, anywhere really on the offensive line, and outside linebacker. And to their credit in free agency, as of the 25th of March, they've done kind of a realistic rebuild. Oh, God, trade Tom Brady. A rebuild, though, in terms of the players they get rid of. They released Ryan Clady, who freed up $10 million in cap room. I give that an A-. They voided Ryan Fitzpatrick content, which it needed to happen. They ate $5 million in dead money there, which kind of sucks. But still, Fitzpatrick had to get off the books, so I give that a B. They released Nick Mangold, which freed $9 million in cap. I'm giving that a B-. I think the cap, in terms of production, it seemed to make sense, but really the cover's not there right now. Who else are you going to play that's better than Nick Mangold? I don't really see anyone right now on the Jets roster. They released Nick Folk, which freed up $3 million in cap. Give that a B. They released Brino Giacomini, which freed up $4.5 million in cap. Give them that A-. They released Brandon Marshall, which freed up $7.5 million in cap. I'm giving that a D. Actually, was not too impressed with they let Brandon Marshall go, unless it was a mutual decision where he no longer wanted to be in the Jets. Because a year ago, man, Brandon Marshall was one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Sure, he's getting up there in age, but I think if you actually have a legit quarterback, throwing him the football, Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker, pairing with, I don't know, maybe Robbie Anderson or something like that, that's a pretty solid wide receiving core. They released Darrelle Revis, which freed up, I think they lost like $700,000. It looks like I had in my notes here. They gained $7.3 million in cap, but they lost $8 million in dead money. But Darrelle Revis was terrible last year. He was one of the worst starting corners of the NFL. So I'm going to give that a B-. More so just the kind of the shitty end of the draw by having to eat all of that dead money. In terms of they re-signed Brian Winters to a 4-year, $29 million deal. He had about an average Pro Football Focus offensive lineman grade, which is usually the only thing I like to refer to Pro Football Focus is the offensive line. But I'll give that a C+. They signed Kelvin Beachum on a 3-year, $24 million deal. Give him that a D. If Kelvin Beachum wasn't good enough to start in the Jags, he's definitely not good enough to get. That's pretty much starter money, low-tier starter money. On the Jets, they brought in Mo Claiborne, though. I don't have the figures of that deal yet, but I actually think that's a solid piece of business, as they do really need to overhaul that entire secondary. So I think Mo Claiborne kind of was underachiever for quite some time for the Dallas Cowboys. Had his biggest year of his career last year, and I think that's a pretty decent signing there from the Jets. So that is their free agency. They did a lot of moves, lost a lot more than what they gained in terms of cutting veteran talent. So let's see how they did, in my opinion, from the 2016 draft before we jump into the 7-round mock. So in 2016, they got Darren Lee, number 20. I think that was a decent pick. He didn't have the most spectacular season, and maybe not be the best scheme fit, I don't think, there, but he definitely will be able to carve out a role, I think, in the coming years. He should be slated to be a full-time starter next year, and he has upside, man. He's one of the most athletic linebackers in the NFL, so I think, a guy like Todd Bowles, a defensive coach like Todd Bowles, would have a bigger sophomore season for Darren Lee in his mind. Second round, pick 51, they got Christian Hackenberg. He didn't even see a goddamn snap. Didn't dress till week 16. That's a bad pick right there. They got Jordan Jenkins in the 3rd round. He was actually a fairly solid contributor outside linebacker. I actually think he had better stats. Don't quote me. I'm not looking at their exact stats. But I want to say he might have had more productive season than Darren Lee had. And I think that was a very nice season for him, even though he's a friggin' Georgia Bulldog, which is kind of disgusting. They're fourth. They got Justin Burris, Brandon Shell, Lachlan Edwards. Pass on that. But they got Jerome Peak, pick 241 in the 7th round. I think that was great value. Peak was on a lot of people had like potential up to a 3rd round grade last year. And the fact that he slipped to the 7th round, obviously didn't have a whole lot, but he did finish the year with 19 receptions, 200 yards, and a touchdown. And I think with kind of the reshuffling there at the wide receiver position for the Jets, he may be able to carve out a role if he has a strong camp and preseason. So that being said, it is time to break into the 7th-round mock for the New York Jets. Lots of places they could go, but where are they going to go? I'll let you know. Don't worry. So, with the 6th pick in the 1st round, I have the New York Jets getting Darrelle Revis' replacement, and they're getting the top corner on the market, the top corner on the board, the top corner in the draft after Sidney Jones goes down with injury, and that is Marshawn Lattimore, the corner from Ohio State, 6 feet tall, 193 pounds, ran a 4.36 40, jumped out of the park with a 38.5-inch vertical, explosive, the best athlete. He always was going to be the best athlete. I think I much preferred Sidney Jones' technique and experience level over Marshawn Lattimore, but the ceiling is incredibly high, and maybe as a Jets fan, a little bit worried about taking a 1st-round corner. Last one was D. Milner. Wasn't too good. He was, he's no longer on the roster. That's pretty much the best way to say it. So Marshawn Lattimore, though, I'm not going to say he's a can't-miss prospect, but he certainly is now, with the injury to Sidney Jones, the top corner on the big board for your boys C4, and should be for most people out there, including the Jets. And you can definitely revamp your defense, because right now, their secondary, you got Mo Claiborne and Buster Skrine. Or Skrine, whatever you want to say. Those are your 2 starting corners. Skrine has always been more of a nickel. You have Marcus Williams, who's actually been very productive, but it doesn't seem like they're super high on him. He always seems like he gets like 3-4 picks a season, but I don't know why they don't give him more starting snaps. He's not the biggest guy. He's 5'10", 5'11", but I definitely think you need to get a playmaker back there because, you kind of gambled on a Morris Claiborne deal. He's a one-year wonder, essentially. So I think you go out and you get the best thing. This Jets has always been a defensive first team. There's no quarterback that's going to miraculously make them better that they can take here at 6. I think the other, they've had debates. Maybe they can go a running back. Yeah. But I think, knowing Todd Bowles, he's a defensive back at heart. He was a defensive back. He's going to want to go get the best defensive back. Safety is another one. Mally Cooker. But you got Calvin Pryor. You got Marcus Gilchrist. I think Marcus Gilchrist is good enough to be a starter with a free safety. And strong safety Calvin Pryor, it's way too early to give up on him. And he's still a fairly solid in the box, big hitting, strong safety back there. So I just think, Marshawn Lattimore makes perfect sense for me. You lost Darrelle Revis. That's what that whole Jets defense has been built upon is strong corner play. And now you seemingly don't have that. You used to have the Antonio Cromartie, Darrelle Revis combination. Now, it's looking kind of limp. So let's inject some Viagra to that defensive secondary. And his name is Marshawn Lattimore. So then moving to the 2nd round, pick 39. I have them going after quarterback. And it's going to be Deshaun Watson, the quarterback from Clemson. I think he will slip to the 2nd round. I personally am not overly high on any of these quarterbacks. And I think that outside of Trubisky, maybe. You have to wait and see. But there might not be another 1st-round quarterback. We will wait and see, though, because we had Trubisky going number 2 overall to the 49ers. But I think Deshaun Watson, he's my favorite quarterback in this year's draft class. I'm certainly pulling for him. He was spectacular at Clemson. 6'2", 221 pounds. Actually came in about 5 pounds heavier than some teams are expecting. So I guess the durability concerns that comes with a lot of the mobile college quarterbacks. I mean, he's putting on weight. If he can get up to maybe a 225 come beginning or end of training camp, beginning or end, I think that would be great to his stock. I think certainly right now anyone can compete for that Jets starting gig. I think a guy like Deshaun Watson very much is in the mold of you may want to look at redshirting him, but the upside's there. He's a proven winner. You can't teach that. He's pretty much he's kind of like a Tim Tebow mold, whereas there's a lot of people doubting that they'll be able to make the transition to the NFL. But what you do know is you have a leader and you have a winner. And I think Deshaun Watson doesn't nearly have the same mechanical flaws that a Tim Tebow has. And he's very much like Tebow in terms of athleticism. 4.66 40. I hit near tops for quarterbacks in the jumping categories and the 3-cone drill. But I think, a guy like Deshaun Watson, NFL wants to compare him to a Marcus Mariota. I think it's somewhat similar. I think Mariota is much more refined as a passer, but the upside is there. And I think for a team like the Jets, I don't really think they're going to give Christian Hackenberg much of a chance. That pick does not make sense. The whole how they handle Christian Hackenberg, 2nd-round quarterback that didn't get any playing time over Bryce Petty Geno Smith, fucking any of those guys was, fairly disappointing, to be completely honest with you, I think, if you're a Jets fan. So I still think they are trying to find that quarterback, and why not take a flyer on a guy that potentially, he has certainly the potential to be the top quarterback from this year's draft class and an absolute game changer. I think getting Deshaun Watson, not at 6, but at 39 is a much more safer place to grab him and have a guy that potentially, very well, I'm going to come on and say that if Deshaun Watson does truly go to the Jets, he might have a chance to be their starter opening day in 2017. Jumping to the third round, I have them adding a linebacker, and that is going to be Alex Anzalone from Florida. 6'3", 241 pounds, ran a 4.6, 340, 16 reps on the bench press, dominated the shuttle drills, this 20 and 60, and had a very strong 3-cone drill, very agile. As a Gator fan, he's rarely injury prone. That's the only thing that kind of sucks for him. But I do think that with the aging David Harris, you don't really have much in terms of depth right now. Looking at the linebacker depth, you have David Harris and Aaron Henderson. For your inside gigs, I think a guy like Al Anzalone, third round grade, would be able to come in and compete for top depth role, maybe even some starting snaps on a rotational kind of leash, if you will. I think Anzalone, when he is healthy, he's a very, very solid tackler. Great technique, as in, it's almost, when you see the bulkier inside linebacker, it's, the same kind of traits of the buzzwords. He's a gym rat. He's very technically sound. That really speaks to Alex Anzalone's character, and was pretty much the yin to Jared Davis's yang at the Florida Gator linebacking spot. And I think if he can stay healthy, he certainly can be a middle. I don't want to say low to kind of shit on this prospect, but I think he can be a middle of the road starter in the NFL. Getting that in the third round would be a great value for the Jets, who I really do think need to address the inside linebacker spot and getting some depth there and preparing for life beyond David Harris. With their second, third round pick, they need a tight end, big time. Right now, their starting tight end is Brandon, I can't catch an onside kick, Bostic. You got Austin Seferian-Jenkins, who's suspended. So let's get a guy that was a pretty big riser on a lot of people's draft boards in a very stacked tight end class. I have them going after Adam Shaheen from Ashland, from the Great Lakes. 4'7", 940, 24 reps on the bench press, 6'6", 280 pounds. He's big, he's fast, he's athletic. He can help in the blocking game just because of his size, but more so, he's a pass-catching tight end, and I think a lot of people are fairly high that he could be a starter in this league, and it pretty much is a wide open spot there for the Jets at the tight end position. And a guy like Shaheen, who's on some experts' top 5 list for the tight end spot in a very, very tight draft class. It fell on my board when I was doing my full mock draft. And I think if the Jets can address the tight end position at the third round with a guy that instantly walks in and has a shot at being the starting tight end of this roster, and that's not even a slight at the weakness and how bad the Jets tight ends, but more so there's also upside with a guy like Shaheen. Big, monsterful motherfucker. I think he would be a phenomenal pick here for the Jets. Pardon my French. I'm trying not to swear as much. I got the baby here. I'm trying to work on these videos to make them more universally liked so kids can watch them and show in front of their parents. I don't know exactly, but I'm trying to drop down on the F-bombs. But I get hyped when a guy like Adam Shaheen, a guy that can be a starter, slips to the third round, and I give him to my friends and the fans of the New York Jets. Jumping to the fifth round, no fourth round pick, I have them selecting a wide receiver from Ohio State, kind of slipping a little bit, and I think he will slip overall, but it's going to be a talented playmaker, a burner, Noah Brown, the wide receiver from Ohio State, 6'2", 222 pounds, 19 reps on the bench press, has yet to run a 40 time. I was trying to see if he ran a 40 time at his pro day. I wasn't able to find anything, but there is a lot of upside. Big physical possession corner wide receiver. Who's that? Who does that remind you of? Oh, maybe Brandon Marshall. I think you need to add something like that, where you already have the speed of a Sharon Peak and the speed of a Robbie Anderson. Get another big possession guy that you can pair with Eric Decker and Quincy Enunwa for depth. And I think a guy like Noah Brown has an incredibly high ceiling. I think he certainly has potential to be a wide receiver too in probably his second or third season. And I think that's another thing. You just got to get a guy with a relatively high ceiling here for the Jets that you continue to build some pieces on offense until you find that starting quarterback, which very well could be the second round pick, Deshaun Watson. But if not, you're probably going to have a little bit of a struggling season. As you can tell by the offseason moves they made in free agency, they're not expecting to really do a whole lot here in 2016. So maybe, obviously if you get Deshaun Watson at 2, you're not really looking forward to investing a first round pick in a quarterback in 2018, but I think a guy like Noah Brown presents tremendous talent to help reload, if you will, the wide receiver core there in the New York Jets. Moving to the 6th round, we have them selecting Jordan Morgan the guard from Kutztown, Pennsylvania State. 4'3", 40, 21 reps on the bench press. Very solid. A 4-year start at left tackle, but pretty much will transition to a guard at the NFL. 6'3", 310 pounds. Again, offensive line depth I think will be key here for the Jets. After losing a bunch of starters, I think they can look for help at right tackle, right at center, depth at guard. Because James Carpenter's he's a veteran at the looks of this offensive line. But a guy like Jordan Morgan, he plays tackle, he can play guard. The thing I look for, you're probably going to find a trend here for how I value offensive line. When you get to the middle rounds, you're not going to get a starter. So I get guys that are versatile, because these guys are going to be depth guys. And the more versatility you offer to an offensive line, the better, and the more likelihood that you're going to actually get on a final 53-man roster. I think a guy like Jordan Morgan in the 6th round would definitely get that tag of being incredibly versatile. So staying in the 7th round, pick 224, we're staying with the offensive line, and I end up getting Chase Roulier, the center from Wyoming. 5'5", 40, 19 reps on the bench press, had a really good 20-yard shuttle. Definitely more in line for a zone scheme. But I definitely think he's strong enough and powerful enough in terms of explosion to be able to compete. As it stands right now, the New York Giants don't have a backup center. So I think a guy like Roulier, this is more so in the 7th round, where can they look at addressing some depth spot? And a guy like Roulier, as it stands right now, would walk in and be the backup to Wesley Johnson at that starting center role, unless they make a move in free agency. 6'4", 312 pounds. Again, more so, if you can get a guy in the 7th round that makes your final 53-man roster as opposed to being a camp body or laying on the practice squad, I think you have to jump all over that. And a guy like Roulier was my top center left here in the 7th round and has a shot at being the backup center for the New York Jets. So there you go, guys. That is your 7th-round mock draft for the New York Jets. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If it's your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. As always, if you're a Jets diehard, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below with how you agree or disagree with my mock draft. And until next time, it's C4 saying 150 likes, and I'll upload tomorrow a 7-round San Diego Charger mock draft. All right, catch you guys later. Peace out.